Like boy bands, Dorito flavors, and national boundaries, fashion trends come and go. You can't argue that some fairly bizarre items have also been deemed haute couture in the past, but they wouldn't draw attention if you wore them out for a night at Dave & Buster's. We're putting the hammer down on history's bizarrest beauty trends today. Please make sure to subscribe to the History Mystery channel before we get all gussied up. Then let us know in the comments what other bizarre historical trends you're interested in learning about. Why don't you change into your nicest attire for the time being? Prince Albert. Victorian clothes is often associated with starched, heavy attire, a lot of black fabric, and bearing the least amount of skin. But hidden beneath all those layers of clothing, you would never have expected to see nipple piercings. Life is unpredictable, and the Victorians were masters of the curveball. During a brief period in Victorian England, affluent women actually had their nipples pierced, often with a chain connecting the two. Probably everyone was wearing these in the late Victorian thrash punk period. Men would also be pierced. They would ask their neighborhood tattoo parlors to insert a ring through their, let's just say it wasn't through their ears. This was said to make it more comfortable to wear the era's increasingly tight pants. It is said that the Victorian prince sported the look and is known as the Prince Albert piercing. He was obviously a fan of the tobacco as well. Power eyebrows. Nowadays, people shell out hundreds of dollars to have their brows sculpted, trimmed, and cut in an effort to make them seem good. However, to have your eyebrows on Greek, you would have to allow them to become bushier than a plumber's mustache. The dominant brows in ancient Greece were women's unibrows, which were regarded as a symbol of wisdom and chastity. Women would use kohl pigment to draw on a brow if they didn't have one naturally, giving them that bold and stunning appearance. Cleavage. If the 17th century was about anything, it was about massive military battles and constantly shifting governmental systems all across the globe. The second thing, if there was one, that the 17th century was about was cleavage fashion. While breasts became one of the most prominent attributes for women to flaunt, necklines plunged. Extreme pallor also started to become a popular new fashion at this period. Contrary to the time's laborers, those with pale skin led affluent lives away from the sun. So if a lady of the time desired both cleavage and transparent skin, she frequently resorted to imitating the trend by putting blue veins on her chest. The busty vampires of the day were ecstatic. Black teeth. The fat cats at Big Toothpaste would have you believe that the only acceptable grin is one that is pearly white. If 9 out of 10 dentists concur on the color of your smile, the 10th dentist must be from ancient Japan. It wasn't a fun wedding night prank, but Japanese women have been blackening their teeth after marriage for countless generations. The stained teeth represented commitment to marriage and beauty. There may have been something to the trend because it persisted throughout the 19th century. However, most people these days are content to receive a simple ring. Leg day. Throughout history, society has always paid particular attention to women's calves, but during the Middle Ages and up until about the 18th century, men's calves were the only object of attention. You were nobody if it didn't appear as though you had a medium-sized boat tied to the back of your shins. Men wore stockings back then to display their perfectly symmetrical, well-defined calves. Some people made sure their stockings fit by stuffing padding inside of them. Particularly well known for having nice calves was King Henry VIII. The man never skipped leg day, despite going through his wives like a lawnmower. Beauty patches. Women's faces used to be left bare until the 18th century, and the pale complexion look was fashionable. But extensive makeup use entered a new era in the 1700s. Beauty patches, which were little pieces of fabric that could be applied to the face to conceal scars or flaws, were a part of this rouge revolution. However, they were vogue accessories in the 18th century and came in shapes like stars, round squares, and SpongeBob. Probably. It also mattered where they were on the face. A beauty patch, for instance, indicated that someone was a little flirtatious. One on the right cheek denoted the woman's marital status. Size of teeth. Suggesting someone is long in the tooth is a harsh way of suggesting they are aging, and during the Renaissance, short teeth were the bee's knees, such balderdash would not fly. This distinction is based on a list of the 30 highly specific characteristics that, in the Renaissance, a woman had to possess in order to be deemed attractive. It seems that in addition to physical characteristics like long legs, wide hips, and a narrow waist, Women also needed to pay close care to their gums. Along with 29 other extremely strict beauty criteria, having a gummy smile and little teeth was pretty much the sexiest feature a lady could possess. Thankfully, these things are no longer relevant. Feet binding. One of the most infamous types of body alteration was probably foot binding. Young girls' feet are being tightly wrapped in an attempt to alter their size and form because small feet were fashionable. Unknown are the origins of the practice in China. However, historians concur that it was common among nobility's spouses and daughters in the 13th century, and it then spread from there. Typically, foot binding starts when a girl is between 5 and 7 years old and continues as she gets older. As a result of binding, the bones in the feet would shatter, causing the sole to bend down to meet the toes and the toes to bend beneath the foot in the shape of a hideous, squishy hook. At this point, you are free to relax your own feet. Head molding. Ancient Mayans began the practice of altering their children's skulls starting approximately 1000 BCE. And you thought it was bad when your mother forbade you from seeing Terminator 2. Skull shaping is the process of causing the skull to change shape as a child grows by strapping a board or other varied tools to the youngster's head. Both boys and girls had this done to them as a symbol of ornamental beauty rather than of social rank. It turns out that at the time, pointy skulls were simply very valuable commodities. Additionally, it wasn't only a Maya issue. Other ethnic groups, including the Huns, Hawaiians, Tahitians, Incas, and the Kainuk and Choctaw tribes in North America, participated in head molding. Length of fingernails. Long nails have a long history in China. Long fingernails have historical significance dating all the way back to 400 BCE, when both men and women were known to let their nails breathe a little. In the Qing dynasty, people grew nails that were 8 to 10 inches long. In order to preserve these elaborate manicures, some women even used special gold nail guards. Long fingernails were a sign of wealth and indicated that the wearer did not perform manual labor in the fields or other environments where their ornate nails would get damaged. Instead, they were dressed, fed, and helped through that challenging Mario Brothers level by servants. Lashes. Long, luscious eyelashes have long been seen as a sign of feminine beauty, dating back to ancient Egypt and even modern movies. However, between the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, eyelashes came to be associated with excess sexuality due to their link with beauty. Women in the Dark Ages chose lighter lashes to distance themselves from this stigma, which ultimately resulted in the removal of all lashes. Women would frequently cruelly pluck out all of their eyelashes, and ultimately a face free of lashes came into fashion. Nylon. The nylon pantyhose industry suffered significantly during the World War II shortages of nylon. Many different paint products were tried to simulate the appearance of that priceless nylon because it was expected that women's legs would be glossy and brown. Products for leg painting appeared on the market, and according to a 1942 issue of Life magazine, when used properly, they were impossible to tell apart from the real thing. However, you could essentially use anything found around the house if you didn't want to spend a lot of money on arts and crafts for your legs. In order to give their legs that shiny and delectable southern fried nylon appearance, some women even painted them with gravy. Chic. Brown or blonde eyebrows are common, but ancient Chinese women were on a whole other level. Using black, blue, or even green grease to paint on their eyebrows and shape them however was fashionable at the time, ancient Chinese ladies loved to express themselves through their eyebrows. For instance, the Han Dynasty was the era of the sharply pointed Vulcan eyebrow. Another brow fashion was known as sorrow brows, when the eyebrows were arched upward in the middle to represent sadness, as though the local brow gel shop had just run out. Head. If you examine any Renaissance artwork, you could begin to wonder why every woman has such a large head. Was there a problem with the water? No. The truth is that back then, a woman's large, curving forehead was a key indicator of her beauty. Those large, curved heads are simply beloved by men. Women with thinner hairlines would pluck or shave the front of their heads to broaden their foreheads, giving them the appearance of having 5, 6, or even the legendary 7 heads. Cheekbones. In order to get the gaunt, high cheekbone appearance of today's fashion industry, fashion models of the 20th and 21st centuries have been known to starve themselves. Sadly, they were absent from the Chinese Tang dynasty, which lasted from 618 to 907 CE. Big, round faces were about the most desirable appearance you could have, so they wouldn't have felt under any compulsion to count a single calorie. At that period, women with full bodies, round faces, large cheekbones, and broad foreheads were regarded as the most attractive people. Corsets. A lot of people during the Edwardian era were uncomfortable wearing corsets, and they worried that the tight, confining undergarments would make it difficult for women to breathe and would squash their internal organs like a tube of toothpaste. The S-bend corset was created as a remedy. This reduced pressure on a woman's waist and instead applied it at an acute angle via her hips and back. Without all those extra layers, it gave the wearer the appearance of a bustle. The innovative corset, however, was not without its shortcomings. It would force the wearer's spine into unnatural bends, resulting in a pronounced wobble when walking. These updated corsets could permanently harm the wearer's posture, but they would also make you a tough competitor in limbo. It seems like a fair exchange. What do you think, then? Would you use any of the conventional cosmetic remedies? Tell us in the comments section below. Check out some of these other videos from our enigmatic history while you're here.